Good evening. Happy Chodesh Adar to everyone. Parshas Teruma. Tonight I want to share with you what I think is the most important word in this parsha. Before I share with you my little secret, what I think is the most important word, it's a pretty short one, by the way. Come with me on a little journey as we travel into two homes, two very different homes. The first home, beautiful, beautiful, multi-million-dollar mansion. Before you even walk into the home, you're struck. The exterior is like everything perfect, modern, architectural decor to a T. And you walk inside, you see the marble pillars, the floors, like you're almost afraid to walk on it, it's so elegant. Crystal chandeliers hanging from every room, beautiful paintings on the walls, not that it needs beautiful paintings, because the walls themselves are like just so gorgeous. Everything done to a T, couldn't be prettier, couldn't be more beautiful. The people that live in the home, mother and father, husband and wife, who do not get along, constantly fighting, battling, no respect for one another. The children, sponges, spoiled brats. They have no respect for the parents. Not that the parents have a lot of respect for the children. It's a miserable, miserable, miserable family. Awful. In a very, very, very beautiful home. Then we go to our second home, and it's the exact opposite. You walk in the house, the place is falling apart. You're almost afraid to walk in there. It's like you kind of like have to duck in to walk in. It's a tiny, tiny, it's like a little shack. It's hard to call it a home. It can barely fit the furniture that's there. Not that there's a whole lot of furniture, which is all falling apart. And the wallpaper, which is crumbling, everything's crumbling. The ceiling, the plaster, it's all falling. It's an awful, awful place to live. And yet, you have in there a husband and wife who have such a love and a fondness and respect for one another. And children who are the models of derech eretz, of good character and behavior. It's a wonderful, loving, beautiful family living in that awful, dilapidated house. I think I know which home I'd rather be in. And then, let's go further on our walk, and we're going to go now into two shuls. And the first shul, guess what? Is the multi-million-dollar greatest synagogue. No comparison to the great synagogue, which is a wonderful place to daven. But it's the most beautiful. The building campaign for this shul, I don't know, $25, $30 million. And again, every room is more beautiful than the next. It's got every luxury you can imagine. And there's gold and silver and jewels dangling everywhere. And you walk into the shul, and you see there's not a single person who's going to the shul who has any fear of God, who understands what davening truly is. It's not a place of spiritual worship. It's not a place of Torah study. It's not a place of derech eretz. It's a big, giant, glitzy pile of money. That's all it is. Then we walk into our last building. And that's the shul, which is exactly the opposite. You'll find shuls like this very often in Eretz Yisrael, especially. Is it really a shul? You're not even sure. It's kind of like a basement. It looks more like a bomb shelter. And again, you got to duck your head in to get in there. Yeah, whatever kind of chairs, like with these basementer chairs, are very luxurious. They're folding chairs broken apart if they have that. And again, everything is peeling, and there is no wallpaper, there's no paint, and there's no nothing. But what there is everyone coming together with Yer Shemayim, davening with all their hearts to connect to Hashem. Learning Torah, it's a Makom Torah, there's Yer Shemayim, it's a Beis Hashem. We know of those two choices, which one is the Beis Hashem, which is the place where one should go to daven, to connect to Hashem. It's what's on the inside that counts. The exterior, the physical, that doesn't matter. And yet, this week's parsha, and next week's parsha, and continuing on for several parshas, we see Hashem gives us a mitzvah to build a beautiful Mishkan, and beautiful kalim, vessels for the Mishkan, and beautiful garments for the Kohen Gadol. Since it's what's inside the neshama that counts, and the physical exterior is really irrelevant. Why? Very simple question with a very simple answer. The Gemara tells us, quotes a pasuk from our daily davening, Az Yasha, which we learned a few weeks ago, the Shira Sayam and Parshas B'Shalach. Zek Heli V'Yanvehu. This is my God, and I will glorify him. Chazal tell us, what does that mean? This is my God, I will glorify him. Hisna elefanav b'mitzvos. Do mitzvahs before him in a beautiful fashion. Don't just buy an esrog, buy a beautiful esrog. Don't just have a talus, have a nice talus. The Sefer Torah, put a lot of money so it's a beautiful, glorious Sefer Torah. And yes, the Mishkan and the Beis Medrash and the Shul should be beautiful places because we are human beings and we are affected by such things. And when it looks beautiful, it gives us a certain kind of feeling and importance and chashivas. And so it can help. And Hashem says, when you do those mitzvos, do them beautifully. Yes, it should look nice. Does matter. I gave two examples. Can't you have both? Is it really one or the other? I gave you a beautiful shul with no Yiras Shamayim and an awful shul with plenty of Yiras Shamayim. Why can't you have both? And that's the ideal, Hashem says. Make your shul beautiful, but don't forget it's what's on the inside that counts. Don't forget it's your davening that I really care about. You make a beautiful Beis HaMikdash, don't forget that the korbanos, the sacrifices, and how beautiful and glitzy it is just a detail to get you to come to recognize that I'm Hashem and to serve me. And of course, the reason why we lost the Beis HaMikdash eventually is because of the mistake of forgetting that's what's on the inside, the character and how we behave and our fear of God and Derech Eretz. That's what really counts. And because when there's so much emphasis on the physical, there is that danger of getting carried away with the exterior trappings and focusing on the physical material and forgetting that it's the neshama that Hashem wants. And the purpose of all the gold and silver is only to serve Hashem. Because of that, I think that's why the most important word in this week's Parsha appears in two places in this context. The second pasuk in the Parsha, when Hashem tells Moshe to tell Bnei Israel to take the Teruma, the gift, donations, to build the Mishkan, says, V'yichu li. Teruma, the word li. Take for me the donation, Hashem says. And several psukim later, the actual building of the Mishkan, the mitzvah, where Hashem says, V'asu li mikdash. Make the mikdash, make the sanctuary for me. In both cases, Rashi points out, that's an unnecessary word. Make the mikdash. Why make a me for mikdash? And Rashi says in both cases the same thing. Li lishmi, for my sake. Lishma. You're doing it for me. It's so easy for us to get caught up in the campaign and forget what the campaign is about. It's so easy for a big donor to look at the golden plaque and the glory he has for giving $5 million and forgetting about that $5 million. It's not about me, the donor. It's Lishma. It's L'Shem Hashem. That's what it's about. And so that's the ideal. The ideal is, of course, to make it beautiful. But Hashem says, Li, Lishmi, make sure. There's a danger here. When you get so involved in the physical that you might look at it just for its own sake and forget. This is not about you, Jewish people. This is about what you're doing for me. This is not about your honor and your glory and that you love it and it's so pretty and you're delighting. It's about using that to delight in me and to serve me better. And that's why that word li, lishma, is so centralized and so central to everything about when Hashem says that you do the beautiful mitzvos, that you do them lishma, you do them for me. And this lesson is something so important for us to remember every day in our lives, every time we remember. Hashem wants us to use the material wealth and to use it nicely. And yes, we should look nice and we should dress nicely on Yom Tov. And we should feel good about it, to feel good about Yom Tov. Not because we pride ourselves on how wonderful we look in our new suit, but because this is a way of celebrating Hashem's Yom Tov and coming closer to Hashem. And we're using that material to come closer to Hashem. So may it indeed be Hashem's will that we are blessed. We are blessed with material possessions and material wealth. that we have those gifts from Hashem, but more importantly, that we always have the wisdom that we know to take those things and to use them not for our own honor, for our own pleasure and self-aggrandizement, but for the greater service of Hashem. L'shem Hashem.